The Rockpile Report, the pettiest, hardest drinking Bills podcast. Coming to you from West Seneca, New York, in the South Towns of Buffalo. Where we Week 7 preview, Bills Patriots, division rivalry. I'm your producer, Chris Kruger. He has no voice, your host, Drew Gear.
I don't know about no voice, but I can't.
You can't do it. You can't do the wind-up.
We can't go this week. Guys, funny thing happened today. I forgot my cell phone at home. You know, thinking about back to Sunday's game.
Is this where you talk about how somehow you got in contact with your wife to get in contact with me that she's going to come bring your phone when you could have just emailed me? Did you forget about that?
Well, I don't know your email address, so...
Well, I mean, you did send me notes for the show tonight, so...
Sure, because I got my laptop out of my truck and then brought it into the building, sent them, and then closed my laptop and then went about my business for the rest of the day. Bang. So...
We can debunk that.
So, yeah.
We can.
Yeah, they all came from my personal email address, correct?
Yes, at 1:30 in the afternoon.
Yes, that's when I take lunch, Chris, because I have a real job that requires focus, and I don't get to pick when I take a break. I'm working in an office atmosphere, but I have a lot of shit to do. So with that in mind,
Can you do 100 push-ups in 20 minutes?
Oh, I could do 100 push-ups right now. I could do 100 push-ups. I could do at least 25 to 30 at a clip. Meanwhile, you hurt yourself trying to do 12.
You missed where that came from.
No.
Because you don't know.
Because I didn't watch Coneheads?
No, because you don't know Saturday Night Live when Will Ferrell's at the dinner table with Anna Gasteyer and Sarah Michelle Gellar talking about his Dodge Stratus and how important he is.
No.
I could do 100 push-ups in 20 minutes.
It's like Anchorman. Ooh, 100. 100. Ooh, it's a deep burn. No. So I left my cell phone at home today. And it's one of these things where when you think about things that age you, one of them that makes you feel older than you should is sitting through a football game like we sat through on Sunday. That's a throwback to like 1980s football where no one could move the fucking ball. No one could do anything.
Or any time we played the Cleveland Browns.
True. Absolutely true. I left my phone at home, and I didn't realize it until I was halfway down the highway on my way to work. I'm obviously not turning around to go get it. So all day I sat there with no phone. And then I realized, I'm like, I know my wife's email address. I'll email her, and I'll tell Chris. I was like, I'll email her, tell her, hey, I don't have my phone. Tell Chris the pizza will be ready at such and such a time, and I will figure the rest of the shit out as I go. What's funny is, a whole day without my cell phone, I gotta say I didn't miss it. It was actually kind of liberating. Like, when you don't have that instant gratification, just like, hey, I could Google this, or hey, I could look at... And I mean, I have my laptop in front of me, and I could just Google something. But it was weird that my phone, like, I realized how much of that, checking Twitter, checking my Facebook group chats, checking my different group... I think I have like 5 different group chats going at any given time. Disconnected from all that, you find out that life's actually pretty simple. And this is kind of nice. It's kind of nice being unplugged from all this. Chris, I don't know what dumb shit you guys were talking about in our group with Mark. I'm sure I didn't miss anything intelligent.
Oh, I'll go to it. I took a screenshot of it and I sent it to Jessica. So Jessica put something on social media about her and I getting married. This is from our attorney, Mark. What the fuck at Chris Kruger. Congratulations, dog. Iman. Whoa. Iman. Is that lotion in Chris's hand? Yulberg. Way to go at Chris Kruger. Mark. I think it's Listerine. Iman. Travel size. Me. What happened?
This is it. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There's nothing intelligent happening in these group chats. What? So this attachment we all feel to our phones, like I don't get it. We're all plugged into something cool. It's not all that great when you unplug and then look back at it. Now, mind you, I will pick that up tomorrow and I will waterboard these dickheads with memes. Like, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's my role in any group chat. I'm the guy who doesn't communicate for... You'll send 50 messages, and then I'll respond. Now, I'm not part of the conversation. I'll just chime in with 5 memes, and then something controversial, or like I'll ask a question, and then I'll vacate the chat for another 5 hours. That's my role. That's what I do here. I didn't miss having my phone today, but it did make me feel old. As did watching the Bills play a 14-9 game. It's fucking wild.
Yeah.
That's 80s throwback shit. Hopefully it's better this week as we take on the New England Patriots. Your Week 7 preview, the Buffalo Bills at the New England Patriots. The time is 1 p.m. Eastern Standard. Your place, the Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. What is it called? Like Patriots Place?
I don't know. Sure.
Will that place, if Belichick and Brady are both gone, eventually become like a cool ghost town that we could visit? Kind of like how the local McKinley Mall is falling apart.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the day that place turns into that. The weather is going to be partly cloudy, 58 degrees with almost no precipitation. Gorgeous day for a football game. Chris, what do we got for a line on this?
I'll pull it up on Yahoo, but if I had to guess, it's probably going to be Bills minus 6.5 would be my guess. Bills minus 8.5.
8.5?
Over under 41 on the nose.
Really?
Yeah.
The crew is Cleet Blakeman.
Heard of that guy.
Yeah. Do you know why?
Because he's not Land Clark.
Because he's not Land Clark. Cleet Blakeman and Carl Sheffers are 2 of the referees in the NFL who believe that the boys should just be able to play. Now, I don't know whether that bodes well for Buffalo or not, Chris, because we're going up against an inferior opponent. How many penalties do you think over on how many calls the Patriots get away with this weekend that make me throw a beer across the room?
2.
2? All right. This could go both ways. Either the Bills finally stop being penalized to death, or they just let the Patriots cheat their asses off in order to keep the game close. Who knows? Dice roll. And who do we get on the call, Chris?
Ian Eagle and Charles Davis. Now, I have no way of calculating how we could do this Seagram's bet.
Okay.
But it would entail the Bills having a 5-4, maybe 5 touchdown lead. And I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how you could calculate this bet, because if it is a 5 touchdown lead for the Bills in the second half, the Seagram's bet would be what markets change out of the Bills
Holy shit.
and Patriots game. Yeah.
Please put that in the YouTube graphic. Holy shit.
Yeah, we're everywhere this week.
Wow.
Yeah, essentially.
That looks like a COVID map back in like 2019, 2020.
Yeah, well, if you go to 506sports.com, you can see the coverage map. Essentially, if you went west of the Mississippi, with the exception of the South, the West Coast gets the Bills game on local TV, including Alaska and Hawaii.
Yeah, we're getting tropical out
Yeah,
here.
and
Now,
it's
what
fun-
is that green?
Cleveland and Indianapolis.
Ew.
Yeah,
What the fuck?
I feel bad for Jason Hicksonball. He gets that on his local TV.
Oh no.
And I
then
think it's kind
what's
of
this weird blue band that somehow sneaks into New York from all the way from Texas?
the Redskins and the Giants,
Why is Texas getting the Giants?
because Dallas and the Giants are in the same division
Okay, so what are the 4 o'clock games? Are there only 3 1 o'clock games?
on CBS. CBS late, you get Chargers and Chiefs, and then your Fox single is a late game, Pittsburgh and the Rams.
Wow. Pittsburgh and the Rams. I'm sure that'll be exciting.
Yeah.
God. Chris, it is funny when we think about the Patriots and the fact that look at all the national appeal this game has.
Well, CBS only has 3 to choose from.
Well, I mean, they picked the right one because holy shit, those other 2 games are dogs. But it's funny thinking that this was one of the games that I used to look at the NFL schedule for. I used to wait for it to come out and then just try to earmark it. That's the day. Bills versus Patriots. It's this day and this day. It used to make every Bills fan salivate at just this idea that we were going to get another crack at this team, even if the rivalry that we felt was kind of one-sided, Chris.
Yeah.
They were Dom Draper in the elevator talking to that guy where he's like, I just feel bad for you. He's like, I don't think about you at all. I'm sorry, you don't exist to me. The moment the door closes, you cease to exist. That's who the Bills were to the New England Patriots. And now the boot is on the other foot, as they say in Australia. I don't know. Swenson, check me on that. Is that an Australian phrase? If not, I got to find a new one. The boot is obviously on the other foot here. Now, it was must-see TV, Chris. Like, what changed? Do you think it's just a byproduct of the team's fortunes? Like, the Bills are 6-1 against the Patriots since Brady left in 2019. We have a plus 110 point differential against them during that time span. The Patriots have only been in the postseason once since Brady left. And that was the game where
the perfect game.
In 0-degree weather, the Bills played the perfect offensive game. You allowed that to happen in the playoffs. Not just a regular season game, the playoffs. And you haven't been back since. Like, that's the most complete ass kicking anyone's ever received. It was on national TV in front of the whole world. Realistically, like, it almost feels like we've slayed the dragon already. And so now there's not a lot we have left to prove. Chris, it does really feel hard to generate animosity for this team anymore. You know? Now, Schadenfreude. I'll never get tired of that. And it's with that in mind that we bring in Mr. Christian Simonelli, star of the AFC's Roundup podcast, longtime friend of the show. Christian, how are you doing tonight?
Miserable. How are you?
Miserable. How are you? Oh, come on. It's not all that bad, right? Like, you guys
it's actually much worse.
You guys at least scored some points this week.
I guess you could call 17-point scoring points. Okay.
I'll say this. This season has had a very cinematic feel to it. Like, I'm picturing Billy Madison when the O'Doyle family car flips over the bridge and explodes. Or when, like, little Bill Daggett gets gut shot and just left to die on the floor of that bar in Unforgiven. It's like when the guy who finally gets what he has coming to him, like, and doesn't realize it yet, like when it finally happens, and it truly feels like they deserve it, and then you watch it and you go, that's sad. Like, that's kind of sad, but I'm still gonna revel in it. Does this loss to McDaniels sting? That's 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, all the sort of the isms that we used to use for the team about not losing back-to-back games, not losing home games, not losing to this guy, doing this well against rookie quarterbacks, doing this against former coaches, former, players, this, that, and the other thing. All that's out the window, and nothing really surprises me anymore. It doesn't necessarily sting. The Raiders aren't that much better than you, and it was basically the game was decided on a safety, really. Mac probably threw, I'd say, the best ball of his career to Devontae Parker, and it literally just went right through Parker's hands, and that pretty much was the game. If Parker catches that, maybe they get into field goal position and they win the game. But that's a big maybe with this offense this year. So, no, doesn't really sting. It's just, man, we got 11 more weeks of this shit.
This is the hard thing. Now, Chris and I have lived this. It's almost like we're Bane.
Do you talk to your dad about this season compared to 1990 or 91 Patriots?
If he was alive, I would. But I remember in 2007 when they were going to be undefeated. He was alive, and he just every week he shook his head. He couldn't believe it, and he goes, "You don't remember because you were only 10, but you don't know how bad it was around here, and you don't know how good it is now. So you better relish this because this isn't going to last forever." And that always stuck with me. He said, "This is not real. This is not reality. Cherish it." And so I often replay that in my head every week when I see this team play because, man, was he right.
Man, see, that's spooky. Like, he's speaking to you from the past. He's like,
oh, it's wild. Yeah.
It's almost like in Ninja Turtles when they see Splinter, like, in the flame, and it's just your dad, and he's like, I warned you about this. I warned you that this was going to be what it was like. I tried to tell you. Oh, my God. Like, the regression, like, if we're going to break this game down and break down what the New England Patriots are in 2023, the regression of the offense has to be the most disappointing part of the entire thing, right?
It is, and it's really incredible when you think about it because last year the offense was so bad, but they at least moved the ball and scored points at times. And last year we had said, we're not watching an NFL offense. This is not an NFL offense. Well, I would take last year's offense 100 times over this one, and I killed Matt Patricia and Joe Judge last year. I still haven't gotten an answer to the question. I don't know how you could go through an off season, and I don't know how you can have all these spring practices and mini camps and training camps and practices and self-evaluation and meetings and hours of meetings and hours of game plan and look this bad. I don't understand it. Like I know that the players aren't great, and some of them aren't even really good, quite frankly. I just don't understand how you could possibly be this inept as an NFL football team. I just don't understand it.
Statistically, you're somehow worse. And it is mind-boggling because Bill O'Brien was supposedly a step up. Now, I watched Alabama last year. I understood what they were with him, but they had talent. And at the same time, they weren't great. And this is where I say this. I was having this conversation with my wife, and we talked about it in the AFC show this week. This concept that Bill O'Brien being traded back and forth between Nick Saban and now Bill Belichick, it makes a lot of sense. They're friends, Belichick and Saban. And both of their teams are going to struggle and fail this season along the exact same lines. Quarterback, they over-evaluated their quarterback. They under-evaluated their offensive line. And they don't have any wide receiving talent. That's where both of those teams are going to die. And so it's funny watching it happen because the deterioration of Mac Jones, it's not just that Mac Jones got worse. Right? People look at Kenny Pickett and go, well, how did Kenny Pickett regressed? Did he, or did Deontay Johnson get hurt and he had backups to throw to? And all of a sudden, nobody knew how to call a game plan for how to get these not so talented players into a position to make the offense win. The regression of Ramondre Stevenson is probably the more concerning of the two, I'd say, as an outsider looking in. Now, we'll talk about all this, but in terms of turnovers, the offense is generating them faster than the defense can keep up with, which is half of the Patriots' issue when it comes to getting blown out in some of these games recently. Mac Jones, when throwing 0 to 20 yards, he has 3 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. In the 0 to 10-yard window from the line of scrimmage, no touchdowns, 3 picks. How much of this is Mac's accuracy and how much blame goes to the wide receivers just not getting the separation that they need to execute what Bill O'Brien thinks is a game plan in these super dangerous areas of the field.
I put the blame on the wide receivers for not getting the separation. They have one of the slowest wide receiver, cores in the league, if not the slowest. No one can get open.
You're not kidding. Devontae Parker is currently last in the NFL among all qualified players, which there's more than 60 who have qualified for next-gen stats at this point. He is last in average separation at 1.9 yards, even though he gets 5 yards of cushion.
And that's the guy, amazingly, that they decided to sign to an extension in the offseason for $33 million.
That's it.
I don't, and then you go and you sign Juju for $25 million. So it's definitely the wide receivers are to blame for not getting separation. But look, it starts and ends with Mac. Mac turns the ball over once, if not twice, almost every game. The only game he didn't was against the Jets. Oh, and he tried to. He tried to, but they dropped him, and they won that game 15-10. Every other game that he's turned the ball over, they've lost. And this is not just simply a case of turnovers, but this is a case of there is no rhythm at all. Like, they just can't get a drive going, and even when they do, there's a stupid penalty. Holding on the Ramondre Stevenson front, extremely disturbing because Ezekiel Elliott, who is his best days are clearly behind him. When he's out there, he looks like the better runner, despite the fact that they're both running behind the same putrid offensive line. And I don't understand that either. I don't get it. I don't know what's wrong with Ramondre. If there's an injury that they're not disclosing or what, but he did receive a ton of touches last year, and they really eased up on him down the stretch because they used him way too much during the air. And I think that had a big impact on his lack of use towards the end of last year. But you're telling me that now carried over into this year, and this is why he looks this way? There are just so many questions. Like,
what if he's Eddie Lacy? What if he's a guy like Eddie Lacy, right, who you he had very little tread left, and you wore it off?
He could be. I mean, I don't recall how much he was used in college. Like, if he was used that much, I got to go back and look. But I don't remember his carries being, like, unbelievably high. Whereas, like, Alabama, like Eddie Lacy, perfect example, they just, drive their backs into the ground. Well, I mean, they used to. But I don't know. He could be that type of guy. Like, what do they say? The average NFL career is, 3 years? So, I mean, this is like his third season. I don't know. The offensive line is terrible, and I do hesitate to evaluate anybody at the skill position, particularly running back with this offensive line. But then when you have another guy, like I said, with Zeke coming in and him looking better with the ball in his hands, it's a real head scratcher.
I mean, so just to give our listeners some context to what he's talking about in terms of the struggles of the skill positions, I've dug up some statistics on this, and Simonelli, you're going to hate to hear it. Stephon Diggs has 462 yards before the catch, which means he's running around the field and then catching the ball downfield and carrying it. 10.7 yards for an average depth of target. The entire Patriots wide receiver core has just 538. It's like the passing attack just doesn't prioritize downfield passing. And when they try, it doesn't work. They try to get Devontae Parker. They go, you're supposed to be the deep guy. You put the ball in his hands and he can't get it. He doesn't fight through contact. He doesn't fight for contested catches. He's a problem. He's a real problem at this point.
He's a giant turd is what he is. I mean, let's call it what he is. Like, at the post-game press conference that he had, he was like flippant with reporters. He was short. Next question. Oh, it went off my fingertips. No, it went right through your hands, pal.
We watched it.
Right through your hands. Yeah,
you know it. You're not dumb. We're not stupid. Neither are you. Don't insult my intelligence.
Right. And I look at it and I'm like, what was this guy like? So we let Jacoby Myers go. We signed this guy to an extension, and we signed a guy in Juju Smith-Schuster with one knee. Like, what are we doing? Like, years ago when we traded for Wes Welker for a second and a seventh, and gave him 5 years and $18 million from Miami, everybody laughed at us and they're like, "Oh, why would you sign Wes Welker? $18 million? You're giving him $18 million, and you gave up a second and a seventh for him." Yeah,
how'd
because
that
Bill
pan
was
out?
at the top of his game.
How'd
Panned
that
out
pan
great.
out?
And now, all these years later, you're the dope. You're the 2007 Dolphins who went 1-15.
Yeah.
Like you guys are the laughing stock of the league right now. I mean, they can't lose enough games for me. Like everybody says, Chicago controls the drafts because they got the top 2 picks, so they control next year's draft, whatever. Like just lose. Don't win. Don't win. Like this coaching staff is. I'm a firm believer in 2 things. Mac is not going to be here next year. Neither is Bill.
Ooh, and see, that's it.
Can't.
And that's the sticking point. Like right here on the offense, I think no matter what because Bill Belichick's acumen has always been about defense. It's always been about how well does the defense game plan for this opponent, do this, do that. At this point, I think the Bill should be judged, considering he's coach and GM, on the way this offense performs. And if the first 6 weeks of the NFL season has told us anything, it's told us that he does not understand what it takes to be successful in the NFL today. He just doesn't. It's passed him by. And I'm not the first person to say that. This isn't unique. It's weird when you go, hey, my running back Ramondre Stevenson leads my team in yards after the catch. Hey, look, that's the guy. He's the guy who has most of my receiving stats is a running back. It's not great. Schematically, Hunter Henry, probably the Patriots' most recognizable offensive weapon. But it's telling that the team is playing 12 personnel a lot more. And I understand Gesicki's more of a wide receiver than an inline tight end. But they're playing more 12 personnel than 11, which I think is kind of an indictment on the wide receiver group as a whole. They don't trust the depth. Demario Douglas, I mean, him coming back from that concussion is huge for you guys, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I thought Tyquan Thornton coming off IR would have been, too, would have given them a little bit something. At least, if you drafted the fastest player in the draft, can't you just tell them, all right, look, you may not be the most polished route runner, but we're just going to have you sprint down the field on every play and take a safety in a corner with you.
Yeah.
If you take 2 guys with you, then somebody has to be open. He had one reception for 6 yards on Sunday. And Mike Gesicki, another Miami stiff, 3 receptions for 28 yards. There's a play that's embedded in my mind at the end of the game for the safety where Max Crosby literally turned Mike Gesicki around in 360 degrees and just made him made him fall right on his butt and went around the left tackle. I forget his name, but he's terrible. And just blinked, and he was in the backfield and sacked Mac Jones. So yeah, they are running 2 tight ends, but they only have really one. They only have one. When they ran 2 tight ends here years ago, both of the tight ends could block. Both of the tight ends could run after the catch. You have one tight end that can catch, and neither of them can block, by the way. Hunter Henry and Gesicki are not good blockers at all.
Well, and so this explains a lot, because when you watch the passing chart and you look at the statistics, your offense is playing small ball. And at the same time, your skill players aren't making explosive plays when they catch the ball and run in space, which makes it really simple for teams with decent front 7 play to just corral you up and stop your offense from gaining any sort of yardage, getting into any kind of a rhythm. And in worse for you guys, they do a lot of freelancing, where then linebackers get cocky by the 3rd drive of the game and go, hey, I'm going to drive on this pass. I think I can get it. And now you guys are in trouble because you have a quarterback who's not willing to take shots down the field, and he's throwing into – it's almost like when you've chummed the water and now there's sharks there, and you decide you're going to jump in anyway. It's just not great what you guys have created. It takes me as a Bills fan back to the Ryan Fitzpatrick era. We had 1 year with Chan Gailey where it worked. And then Ryan Fitzpatrick got hurt. He gets a contract extension, immediately breaks his ribs, and that's the end. The whole thing comes crashing down. We lose the rest of the season. It's over.
Yep.
After that, we assumed we would pick up where we left off, but teams now understood, hey, this team only throws the ball inside of a 20-yard window. So our safeties never lift. There's no deep quarter coverage now. Everyone creeps up to that 20-yard line. The linebackers now creep up to the line of scrimmage, and if there's no crossing route, they blitz, or they just spread out to the flats and the sidelines. There becomes no room to operate, and it's suffocating. And what happens is your offense just slowly dies. I've watched this movie, and now I'm watching it play out in a Patriots uniform. And so with that in mind, like, I guess the question is, do you place more blame on the lack of explosiveness of the players or the play calling and the play design by Bill O'Brien? Because realistically, you should be able, to your point, use a guy with Tyquan Thornton's speed to pull some defenders away to open something up for Kendrick Bourne, who is your leading receiver, who's getting all the attention, all of the targets. Like, you think you could be more creative, and we haven't seen that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Billy O'Brien is not this bad of a coach. Like, I know Alabama was happy to be rid of him, and I know the Alabama fans. I remember listening to, you guys must listen to him every now and then. But well, Paul Feinbaum, his show has like all the Alabama calling fans. They are like, it's like the most hilarious thing ever. Hey Paul, like with that Southern drawl, which is great, and they all hated him. So I blame the players, like I do. Billy O knows his X and O's. Like Bill Belichick knows his X and O's. These guys cannot play. But then it comes back to Bill the GM. Like, what are you doing going out getting these guys who just slug? And now you want to try to get your fast guys in the 6th round with Kayshon Boutte, who has been in bubble wrap, basically not even bubble wrap, he's been in mothball since the first game where he didn't get 2 feet down on the catch. He hasn't seen the light of day. And, Pop Douglas, when he's in there, he may get 2 or 3 balls thrown to him, but he was also put in mothballs because he fumbled. And so you're trying to get speed and elite playmakers in the 6th round. It doesn't work that way. Like, you're not going to find Wes Welker again. You're not going to fleece the Dolphins out of. You're not going to find Julian Edelman in the 7th round again. Just ain't going to happen. Like, those premium guys now are at the top of the draft. You've got to go get them. And his astute observation, he decided to draft N'Keal Harry, which again I told you, not hitting on a wide receiver in the 2019 draft was the equivalent of sitting in a boat in water and falling out of the boat and not hitting the water. It was impossible for you to miss drafting a wide receiver in that draft. The wide receivers that came out of there are like the biggest playmakers today, from Deebo Samuel to DK Metcalf to A.J. Brown. The list is on. It was Terry McLaurin, and you drafted N'Keal Harry. Like, it just boggles the mind. So it's definitely the skill. And he did it for years with other guys, and Brady really made a lot of guys, average guys, look very confident. Of course, in this offense.
He's gotten away with murder. I mean, he's gotten away with murder, right? Because of Tom Brady. Now, it's funny, like you're saying it. You're like, oh, you're trying to do the same thing over again, but it's old, it's tired. It makes me think of Bruce Springsteen, that album, The Rising, that he decided to fucking write. Come on up for the rising. Shut up. Shut up. No one's buying your bullshit anymore, Bruce. Get out of here. Get. If I had a straw broom, I would chase you off my front porch. So, that's where Bruce Springsteen is, and that's where Bill Belichick is. Now, makeup of the offensive line just so we can move on in the formation data. I've got some points that I think are interesting to Bills fans. I want to get your point on them. Mafi and Sal playing guard have not been good. Like, up and down is being nice. Sal looks better than Antonio Mafi. Mafi was talked about post-draft. Everyone goes, look at this steal they got. He's big, he's physical. He hasn't done any of that. And the worst part that I've seen is that he has no play recognition. I've watched the snaps where they run a stunt and he gets lost. His processing as an offensive lineman is very slow.
And they run the same stunt every single time, and he has yet to pick it up.
Yes.
Now, to me, that's coaching. Like, that's coaching. That's our Adrian Clem. Like, that's coaching. Like, when you come to the sideline, dude, they've run the same stunt on you 3 times. You got to communicate with the guy next to you. Like, but to me, that's coaching. But go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Sal, he's been better, but not great.
Yeah.
What you guys have, when you had Tom Brady and this team was good, you guys protected the A and B gap. Like, that was integral to the offense. Tom Brady needed time in the pocket to operate because it wasn't a mobile quarterback. You have the same thing now. The problem is that you can't provide that to him on a regular basis. And so what you end up with is a quarterback who is now every snap going, is this going to be the one where that guy breaks down? Right. Do I have to be looking for an escape route? And it takes away from his ability to watch what is a limited group of offensive skill players, right?
Yeah, I mean, Mac right now is broken, and you can definitely see him bailing out of the pocket even when there's no pressure. But if there's like the slight hint that somebody's coming near him, he bails, and he did that like 2 or 3 times, and he actually did that Sunday when he threw the interception, again thrown across his body. He didn't need to get out of the pocket, but he did. And it just speaks to what you're saying. Like, when Brady was in there towards the end, you had Joe Tooney, you had David Andrews, and you had Shaq Mason. Those were your 3 guys. Leaps and bounds compared to what you have now. I have no problem in saying this. He didn't play this game, but I can tell you right now, Cole Strange, B-U-S-T City.
Ooh.
Disaster. Absolute disaster. This kid gets obliterated almost every game. It's terrible. So they win another draft pick. He had another draft pick.
Another shocking draft pick. When they took him, everyone was shocked that he was. I thought he would be there in the 2nd or 3rd round for Buffalo because I wanted to get a jersey that said Stranges on the back. So I could just walk Cole Strange. So I could just walk around and go get some Strange and like point to the back. Like I just,
of course.
I thought that would be fun. You guys stole that from me, and it turns out you did me a favor in multiple fronts, in multiple ways. In my life is better because you drafted it.
Apparently, also, did the Rams a favor as well, because if you remember from that draft, you may or may not, there was a soundbite in a press conference where literally McVay and the GM Snead were laughing because they had a 5th round grade on them.
So,
how does one guy have a 1st round grade, another guy have 5th round grade? I don't know, but that doesn't seem right. Something's wrong there.
Now, changing side of the ball before we lose time here.
Yep.
I'm just looking at the defense. This Patriots defense is obviously not what we're used to. Bill is not having his usual magic effect. Like you're not watching like a concerted game plan for each opponent that you're playing. It seems more like you guys are hanging on for dear life in every single game. You guys are more passengers on defense than you are drivers, which is a weird thing for this franchise, I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I've noticed, and this is a big one, against the Raiders, you guys blitzed 30 individual times, and the net result was 3 pressures. Your 12 sacks on the season rank in the bottom of the NFL. You lost Judon, which hurts you. Keon White is dealing with a concussion. When it comes to this Sunday's game against the Bills, like, where is the pressure coming from now? Like, just looking at the way your team is built.
Yeah, you got me. I mean, they're really going to have to dial it up and be creative to get anywhere near you guys. And good luck doing that, because you had a trade. You literally had a trade for J.C. Jackson just so you would have a viable starting corner on this team due to injuries, to the Jones boys, obviously to Christian Gonzalez being out for the year. I mean, your starting corners, Miles Bryant and Sean Wade prior to J.C. Jackson coming back here. They have like 5 safeties, but they have none, if that makes any sense. The combination of, they throw out there, whether it be Peppers, Duggar, Phillips, Jalen Mills when he plays, which is rare now. They just got a bunch of guys who really don't have spots and they're just out there. And at least when you had Gonzalez, at least when you had a Judon, you could say, okay, boom, boom, linebacker, corner, 2 best players, studs. You know what they're going to do. Going to get after the pass. They're going to lock this guy down, shut this guy down. They really don't have anybody. I don't see how they can hold you guys to like under 40 points this week, absent of like, you know, again, another like wind game, you know, up in Buffalo a couple of years ago. But other than that, I don't know how. Like, and I watched Sunday night, by the way. I watched Sunday night against the Giants in glory, cheering for the Giants, even though I hate the Giants, just so I could come on here and laugh with you guys. But you won the game, and I got to give you something. That's a game years ago you guys probably would have lost.
Oh, 100%. And I said it.
So,
I go, it's an ugly win.
I give you that.
But I'd rather win ugly than be the Eagles. I'd rather win ugly than be the 49ers. I would rather do a lot of things than be those teams. Now, I love the fact that J.C. Jackson is back because it speaks to the fact that all Bill knows is what he used to know. He goes, hey, I knew J.C. Jackson. I knew he was good. They're tired of his shit. Let me bring him back. And so they do, and they go out and they trade for him, and he comes back. He has an okay game, but he's J.C. Jackson. He's not going to shut down Stephon Diggs. He's definitely not like it. You just look at this as a whole. It all looks like this is just a compilation of Bill's ego coming home to roost in the form of you've gotten by, building poor rosters and getting bailed out by a Hall of Fame quarterback. And now he's gone, and this team has gotten worse precipitously every year. You made one playoff appearance, and then this team you're about to play on Sunday is the team that had the perfect game against you. And he's never really recovered from that. It's been all downhill from there. As a Patriots fan, as a watcher, as somebody who's used to talking about this stuff, what for you is the upshot and what's the silver lining in this for you? I mean, like, if you had to try to prognosticate what the outcome is, realistically, what do you have?
For the year or for this game?
It's for this game.
For this game. That you somehow miraculously create a bunch of turnovers on defense and that the offense has short fields to work on and they make hay. Maybe, just maybe, they'll be able to run the ball on you guys with Milano out. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm grasping at straws here. Like, they haven't been able to pass against anybody. They barely ran against the Raiders last week. So that would be the best outcome. I mean, for you guys to turn the ball over multiple times and for the offense to have short fields to work on and make something with those turnovers, you know, they score points, not field goals, touchdowns.
If you were to try to prognosticate, well, we are the best red zone offense. If you had to prognosticate the final score, and then also what your demeanor is going to be when this one's over.
I mean, I don't know, 45-3. And again, you know, you can find me on my couch Sunday, sitting there, and you could throw breadcrumbs at me like I'm in a park, like a pigeon, and just sit there, and it would just bounce off my face. I mean, it's just going to be another day where I'm going to be sitting there numb. Can't believe what I'm watching. I don't know how we score, and I don't know how we stop you guys from scoring. So 45-3, wouldn't surprise me at all.
Nobody would waste breadcrumbs on you. You're Italian. You need those.
We know you already have
That's
those.
true. I wouldn't waste them either because I do need them for the meatballs. You're right about that.
Christian, where can everybody follow you on social media? And just buck up, bud. It'll be okay.
It won't. You can find me on X at Chris with the TIAN. And I tell you, though, I noticed all these Buffalo Bills fans having a lot of fun with my tweets, a lot of good times, a lot of likes, a lot of interaction. So happy to have you on board.
Christian Simonelli on Twitter at Chris with a TIAN.
Spelled out WITHTIAN.
One of our longest tenured guests on the show. One of our favorites. Does great work. Follow him so you can bathe in his misery.
As he says, it's funny to me that Patriots fans are so down on their team, but I understand why. And here's what I think the Bills need to do this week to escape here with a win. Chris, these are the keys to victory.
Wow, that's a lot of keys. Bigger the keychain, more powerful the man.
I feel pretty strong tonight. I've got some takes. First of all, I need strong run defense from the nickel. Here's why. The Patriots wide receivers don't generate great separation. They don't get the net result is that their passing attack is kind of a pushover. It's week over week just grinding to a halt, kind of like a fat guy trying to run a mile. Chris, did you have to run the mile in high school?
No.
What? You don't have to do that? The presidential challenge where like every kid had to run 1 mile?
No, I was in private school.
Oh, that's so lame. Yeah, I did. I snuck off the course and went to the hardware store that's like right off the perimeter of the high school and bought, what do they call those? Juju fish? Like the little gummy fish.
Yep.
And just had them, like Swedish fish. And just like had them in my pocket. And I remember my gym teacher, me at like almost 285 pounds, jogging past him, putting a Swedish fish in my mouth. And he goes, "Gary, do you have candy?" And it was it. That's all I could hear. Him just yelling about me having candy as I ran past him.
They're trash.
The Patriots are me trying to run the mile. They're all cheating, they're all eating candy, and they're all sucking wind trying to throw up on their shoes. Last week, we watched the Bills trio of Teron Johnson, Terrell Bernard, Dorian Williams. We watched them do a fantastic job of both corralling the run game and covering running backs out of the backfield. It almost makes sense because the Giants and the Patriots are very similar in the fact that their running backs are great players, but they also play a very prominent role in the passing attack because they're great players, one of the few on the roster. We shut down everything they were trying to do, and it allowed the Bills to stay out of base and play more nickel. If we can do that in this game, they're more likely to be able to capitalize on Mac Jones's struggles throwing into the shallow areas of the field. This is where all of his picks take place, inside the 0 to 20-yard window from the line of scrimmage. If we can stand up against their base offense with our nickel defense, with Teron Johnson on the field, I feel like that is going to force them to have to throw into it. Now, we've watched all three of these guys, even though they're undersized, take on blockers, shed blockers, get to the running back. It's not like the Patriots' offensive line is the road grader it used to be, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So with that in mind, if you can do this and these guys can shut down the run, this thing is essentially going to become the Ryan Fitzpatrick offense. Donald Jones and David Nelson were going to be open deep, so you were forced to play the whole game. Essentially, you're forced to play small ball. Shrink the field. Your safeties start to take liberties. You drive on balls inside the box rather than sitting back in a too-high safety look and play the deep half. Those tendencies for Mac, I expect to see the Bills playing nickel, starting a little deeper and moving closer to the line of scrimmage as the game goes on. Against a team that does so little to get into the deep quarters of the field, via scheme or via natural talent of its players, I'd like to see Sean McDermott continue his aggressiveness. Just especially when it pertains to the front seven. Create sacks, create turnovers, and make him throw into those three players. I want to see Dorian Williams. I want to see Terrell Bernard. I want to see Teron Johnson out there. Because, Chris, who at that level, like, what do you want? Terrell Dodson?
Let's give it a shot.
Would you rather take Teron Johnson off the field?
Please don't.
Exactly. I think those three are our key to kind of corralling everything these guys want to do. Just in the way we played the Giants this past week. Second key to victory, hide Kyer Elam. Like, if we could leave him at home, that'd be nice. When the Patriots do choose to take shots downfield, the Bills need to make sure that Devontae Parker isn't lined up on Elam without any help over the top. Elam's issues with recognizing what to do when the pass is in the air, like, they make him a liability. And while Parker has been awful, don't get me wrong, he's been terrible when forced to make contested catches. Elam has no ability to read the football in the air. He's botched so many plays over the course of the last 2 weeks simply because he doesn't know when to turn his head around and he gives up chunk yardage. That, you just heard Simonelli say it. If Devontae Parker catches that ball against the Raiders, maybe the entire game is different. Right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be on the receiving end of that, do you?
I hope not.
Okay. So the idea is they need to decide if Ingram isn't the better player to have as your third cornerback on the boundary. Given that he seems to have a little bit better ability to recognize what to do when the ball is in the air, Kyle Elam right now is like a dog chasing a car. He wouldn't know what to do with it if he caught it. I don't know how he's regressed from last year to this year, but he has. And so they have to make sure he cannot be a liability that allows some big plays that gives the other team life. Because realistically, that happened 2 or 3 times in the game against the Giants. It happened. It's the reason, I stand by this. Kyle Elam is the reason we lost that Jaguars game. Those throws to Calvin Ridley where he had no idea where the ball was and just gave up first down after first down, we cannot have that again. Chris, put him on a slow boat to China. I don't care where you put him. Just get him out of here. Execution from the shotgun is going to be massive for us. Something that was lost in Sunday's woe on social media was the realization by fans that Mitch Morse had kind of a rough night, as did most of the interior offensive line. They didn't surrender a sack, but all 3 interior offensive linemen combined for 5 pressures, and each one of them was a quarterback hurry in a passing situation. So with that in mind, knowing that Barmore and the Patriots linebacking core, and the fact that right now they're one of the highest blitzing defenses in the NFL, especially after the loss of Judon, I wouldn't be shocked to see the Bills approach this game with the same thing we've seen over the last few weeks that's upset everybody, which is a heavy dose of shotgun formation. And everyone goes, wow! Get them back under center. Everything's more efficient. Well, guess what? You know what else happens when you put them under center and you're not getting proper blocking up front? Off any kind of play action you want to run, you have a defensive tackle like Christian Barmore right in your lap. Chris, that's why you don't call those plays when a team has a defensive tackle like that. Instead, you run a shitload of shotgun. I urge you all to prepare yourselves for it. And ultimately, it might not be bad. Based on how it's worked out over the last few years, we've been very successful out of the shotgun. Just when they do call runs, they have to be better out of the shotgun. That's the only reason we're all bitching about this. Passing the ball out of the shotgun, Josh, has not been bad. When it comes to the running game, especially the fact that they choose to do it on second down, you have to find better calls than a draw. Oh, second and long, they're calling a run draw to James Cook right up the middle. Terrible idea. Hopefully they've thrown that play out the window. I think what we need to focus on is just getting better blocking and making sure that when we do choose to run out of the shotgun, it is off tackle. It's getting a guy in space who's fast enough to run away from already pre-blocked players, not up the gut looking for a crease, and that we're making the most of those opportunities. When that happens, Chris, they have to be positive plays, correct?
Yeah.
You can't go on second down and 10 because you missed your pass on first down. You can't call a 3-yard draw. That's a loser play because now you're committing yourself to third and long. You are helping the defense every time you do it. And statistics have proven passing the ball, all 32 teams, doesn't matter what down, what distance, whatever, passing the ball nets you about 6 yards per play. Or I think it was 5 and change. Running the ball nets you about 4. You are doing yourself a disservice if you're not throwing the football. That's it. If you can run the football, that's nice. That gives you balance. It gives you the ability to threaten a defense. with another look. Hey, don't defend the pass too strong because otherwise we could run this. But if you choose to go straight headfirst into that, you're kind of a dickhead. If you're just going to keep running a guy, like they need to do this better, especially in the game, Chris, with Josh Allen nursing an injury. I don't see him taking a lot of those shotgun runs.
He better not.
The last thing I have is attack the slot. Most of you will remember a guy by the name of Miles Bryant. And the only reason you remember him is because he made Isaiah McKenzie look so good that we all thought that a lot like how Ryan Fitzpatrick switched wardrobes with Deshaun Jackson before that Buccaneers press conference.
Yeah.
We thought Isaiah McKenzie was Stephon Diggs. That's it. That's how badly he beat that guy. Bryant just isn't a good nickel corner, but he's the guy that the Patriots still have. He's giving up 72% in man coverage, which leads the team. He's giving up a 92% receiving yards, like receptions against, in zone coverage, which leads the team. He's given up more than 100 yards receiving in each style of coverage. NFL passer rating against of more than 100 in both phases. Chris, he sounds like the worst thing to happen to cornerback. Like, who's the worst Bills cornerback you can remember?
Worst Bills cornerback. We've had
some good cornerbacks.
Your Antoine Winfield, your Nate Clements.
Who's the worst you can remember?
I don't know if I can think of one off the top of my head right now.
What I will say is this guy pales in comparison to anything we know about playing the cornerback position. He's certainly not Teron Johnson. They don't have another natural slot. They just don't have one on the roster. So he's going to get all of the run. And given all the work the Bills have done to beef up that part of their roster, I have to believe that they can recreate some of that 2021 magic if they can get him in matchups against Kincaid, Hardy, Sherfield. There's names out there, and this is the guy who, J.C. Jackson, he's back. I don't give a shit. Maybe he's good again, but do you remember when Stephon Diggs just roasted him?
Yeah.
They got into a fight, literally a fight on the field, and then Stephon Diggs proceeded to have 100 yards on him. I think Jonathan Jones might be the other one, but he's injured. Jack Jones is just, maybe they're the same guy. I don't even fucking know. It doesn't matter. Their cornerbacks are weak. But I think this is the weakest link, and if you can find a way, a lot like we did in that 2021 game in Foxborough, to just expose Miles Bryant, it would go a long way towards just making this like layups for the Buffalo Bills in offense. So that's it, Chris. What do you have for a prediction on this one?
What do we say? 8.5.
8.5 spread.
We've played 2 poor games in a row.
Yes. Against teams that people said were bad defensively.
This is probably your get-right game. I'm going to think that the Bills cover.
Oh, you're taking them to cover?
Yeah, I think the Bills.
I'll take that. I'll take that Seagram's bet.
God, I'm hoping that I can keep this streak going so I never have to have that blue lemonade shit.
Yeah. No, that Seagram's is fucking terrible, dude.
Well, when the Bills win by 9 or more, you're having it again.
You know what, though? I'll take it for a Buffalo Bills win. Guys, this has been a lot of fun. Big thank you to Christian Simonelli for joining us. But we gotta get the hell out of here. I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger. This has been your Week 7 preview.